Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Planet Ready podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Spin Global, a public benefit corporation that exists to disrupt disasters from neighborhoods to nations. And don't forget to check out PlanetReady.com, the world's premier online disaster risk reduction and emergency preparedness platform for individuals, families, houses of worship, businesses, and governments. And remember, Planet Ready brings preparedness where people are. Our guest today on the podcast is Amanda Ostuni, a former member of FEMA Corps. Let's hear about a disaster that impacted her life and learn about what she took from the experience.
When I was in college, Hurricane Sandy hit Long Island. So I was actually away in Boston, but I was getting the reports from everyone. My family was living on Long Island. Luckily, they were in the middle of the island, so it was mostly just power outage and trees down. My now sister-in-law, though, lived on the water, and her home was completely gone. Her whole community was devastated. And I just remember hearing, as all the reports were coming in, feeling that like a little bit of maybe some sort of survivor's guilt, or maybe that I just wanted to help. I wanted to be there, and it felt weird not to be there with my family through this. And that kind of just stayed with me. I think that like feeling of maybe like helplessness and being away from people who are experiencing something like that. It was just kind of a surreal experience. They kind of had to start over, and I think she handled it very well, just leaning on the people who could help her. And I saw that unfold. And then I think also that disasters can happen to anyone at any moment. And I didn't know how to help then, but if I was to experiencing that now, I know there are, you can get involved with Red Cross. You can, find who is doing food drives and those sort of services for people. And you can definitely still kind of make a difference and lend your hand when people are needing it like that. And I had it in my mind when I was in AmeriCorps. It put things into perspective of what disasters are like for people. And, now that I'm in studying public policy, it kind of fits into this idea that people can have their lives changed at the drop of a hat. Just one big natural disaster, one anything can change things. And we definitely need to have a system in place to be prepared for that and to be prepared to help people. And so I think that's kind of in the back of my mind as I'm thinking about what I want to do after school, of like how I can make a difference and make sure that no one is a moment away from disaster.
Now it's time for some Q&A to get some additional preparedness insight and to learn about the organization. So this week on the Planet Ready podcast, we'll be talking about the National Service Program, FEMA Corps. FEMA Corps is a program dedicated to providing young individuals with the opportunity to service disaster-impacted communities across the nation. FEMA Corps is a partnership between FEMA and the AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps program. Above all, FEMA Corps takes a team-based approach in allowing members to learn and grow together as a unit through life, work, and travel. The program gives members the chance to grow their experience, their leadership skills, and their ability to support disaster survivors in their time of need. Well, let's go ahead and introduce our guest today on the podcast, who's going to talk to us a little more about FEMA Corps and her experiences. We have Amanda Ostuni, a former Atlantic regionally based AmeriCorps NCCC FEMA Corps member. Amanda helped provide the Disaster Survivor Assistance Team with media support and representation, as well as leadership assistance. Born and raised in New York, Amanda has an extensive background in journalism. Last year, she left a job at a business magazine partly to do a writing internship with a global poverty solutions nonprofit. Her experience confirmed her desire to apply her writing skills to social justice and advocacy work. And in doing so, she'll be starting a Master of Public Policy program at Duke University this fall. She's also currently a freelancer for Entertainment Weekly. How are you doing today, Amanda?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Happy to have you on the podcast today. I think we're going to have a really interesting discussion. This is going to be very valuable to our viewers. So again, thanks you for coming on again.
Happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this interview. So, Amanda, so tell us a little bit more about what attracted you to FEMA Corps and what actually inspired you to join, just right off the bat.
Well, I'd been thinking for a while of wanting to do service from just experiences I've had traveling abroad and kind of seeing different inequalities and things like that. And I'm very all or nothing. I wanted to commit to doing service work full time. And so I looked at Peace Corps and then from there found AmeriCorps. And I actually chose FEMA Corps above everything because it allowed you to travel and do different assignments instead of stay in one place, and it had the best mix of both physical hands-on work and more skills-based like pragmatic work. So I just kind of thought it was the best of everything.
Awesome, awesome. Great, great. So talk to us a little bit about the application process. What was it initially like for you trying to get in? What can you discuss a little bit of that for us and probably point out what were some of the interesting aspects about the process that you that really stuck out to you?
Well, you go on AmeriCorps.gov and you look at the different programs they have, and they have traditional core, they have FEMA Corps, and then they have Vista programs. And it's really a nice setup because it gives you all of the options right in front of you, and it will not only have the jobs, but it gives you choices of where you want to be based out of. So there's like somewhere in Iowa, Colorado, California. There was Maryland, that's gone now, unfortunately. But there's a lot of different choices geographically and start times. So you could really pick what works for you. And I was really interested in that. And so I was able to pick a timing that worked well with leaving my job. And I don't remember exactly what was involved in the process. I know that it was not too intense because they really want to take in everyone who wants to volunteer. This is a mutually beneficial program, so they're not going to, be trying to get you.
Interesting, interesting. So how would you describe what officially happens once you're in? How did you prepare to embark on your journey when you joined FEMA Corps?
So they send you a giant packet of all of more information about the program and your base that you've been assigned to, and a checklist of things to pack. And then they mail you two bags that are the only bags that you're allowed to bring. It's a giant green military bag the size of my entire body, and
Wow.
then one other bag. And so my mother and I, we went shopping. We tried to plan for, you have no idea where you're going to be assigned. So you have to pack for winter and summer in this two bags.
Wow.
And so that was the hardest part. And you just go through all the checklists. And once I was done with that, I moved out of my apartment in Massachusetts. I had one last weekend with my family and off I went.
Wow, talk about being prepared. They make you pack for both winter and summer. Like that's gotta that must have been a huge pack. And it
Yeah,
was bigger than your wow.
you have no idea where you're going to go. So it was so hard to figure out what to pack, but they give you a pretty good guideline. So.
Awesome, awesome. So tell us a little bit more about your first day. What was your onboarding like?
Well, we arrived at the airport or train stations in these time blocks, and it was pretty easy to find the group because everyone was in matching bags and looking a little lost. Um, and then we piled into vans and we drove to a parking lot where they had trailers for us to try on our uniforms and get uniforms. And it was a guy's trailer and a girl's trailer. And it was very awkward for those who were shy about changing. But they had places you could go to be private. And then we went, and the rest of the day we were on campus outside of Baltimore, just going through paperwork and settling into our rooms, which are these giant um, dorm room style things with about a dozen bunk beds each. And it was chaotic, but we all had fun joking about the craziness of the process.
Yeah, just me off the top of the head when I think about that. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to experience. Like they got the bunk beds in here and stuff like that. But your heart must have been pumping throughout the whole ordeal because you probably, I don't know if at any point in time during the process you felt like this was something that you might have been really excited for, or you didn't know what you were kind of anticipating what was going to be happening and all your emotions rushing. I didn't know if you had feelings like that or feelings where you probably felt like you couldn't handle this situation. Maybe speak a little bit more to that.
It was exciting. It was a little overwhelming, and also I went into it as one of the oldest because there's an age cutoff for FEMA Corps,
Oh,
and so I was just it limits at 25, I believe, and I think I was 24, and so I was kind of taking stock of everyone, seeing if I looked out of place.
uh-huh.
And so that was a lot of the nervousness that I felt the first day, but it was very exciting. I mean, it felt like I was going to summer camp again.
Uh-huh.
So just, who's going to be my friend, and where's that person from? And did I make the right decision? What is this? So there's definitely a lot of emotions happening, but in all of the activity, definitely some excitement.
Well, that's good. That's good because that actually leads me into my next question. So, what was it like working with your team? Tell us a little bit more about your team and what it was like getting to know each of your team members as well.
Yeah, so they assigned teams about a week into us being there, and it was based on we were able to choose what job we were interested in. So there's like disaster survivor assistance is one of the designations that I wanted, which I got, and that's certain work doing canvassing. And so once you pick that, they also look at who's kind of made connections already in that first week and try to pair us with some of those. So I actually went into my team assignment with a friend already. We were inseparable in the first week. So that was really nice. We had one of the smallest teams. My team was 6 people. The largest team was about 12.
Wow.
Um, so the 6-person team, it's a little bit more intimate. You're very much together all the time, and there's not enough people to, section off at all. So it was interesting, but we all pretty much got along, and we were able to bond in the first month of training over team activities, and we had to cook for each other. And so all the people
Wow.
who were terrible cooks were bonding over that. And all the people who were good at what they were doing, they bonded, and we had to be paired with each other so that they could help us failed cooks like me. So it was good. It was a good experience getting to know everyone.
Well, it was really good that you all had assistance from each other along the way. And that's what team building is all about. You come
Yeah.
together, you bond, you connect, you learn different skills from one another, you learn how to help one another. And
Mhm.
I think that's probably one of the most important pieces of the process that I myself think really works to everyone's benefit and
Mhm.
overall the team and works to the benefit of the program as well. If you had me on your team, I don't know what I would have done. I guess, I mean, I could cook, but probably not as good as some of the other people that were there. Like, I'm not
And we're
like,
cooking on a budget. We have a limited budget of food. So we
wow.
have to figure out how to shop for 6, 7 of us on ridiculously low budget. And I said, I can make pasta all the time. How's
Wow.
that?
See, that's got to be intimidating because me just hearing about that, like, I wonder how many other people are on the team who probably had their own, like, who are really picky about what they
Hmm.
eat or what they're looking for. So working on a budget, it must have been insane trying to work around those things, unless it was a different experience for you.
It was complicated, but we kind of we were good about compromising. And when we were doing Subway for a long time, and someone got sick of that, and they really wanted Taco Bell, we did Taco Bell. And then for healthier options, we would go to Walmart and get some of those pre-made options. So we definitely found a mix and made it work for everyone.
That's good. That's good. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, me, let's see, what would have done? Because you're throwing so many options out there. Taco Bell, Subway, shoot. I probably would have stuck with Subway at that point. I can eat like meatball marinara sandwiches all the time. Like I won't let anything bother me. But yeah, so tell us a little bit more about your training. So what did you have to learn in order to become a FEMA Corps member?
So about the first month, we were doing a lot of team building and learning about service work and just disaster management in general. And then once we got our team designations, and then we went to Mississippi to do more specific training. So for my team's assignment, we we had to learn how to use the Homeland Security's software programs that allow you to register people for financial aid and update their cases. So it's a data entry program, and then there's also a geographic information system program that we had to learn how to use. So it was a lot of technological training involved for a week, and then we got our first assignment.
Wow, wow. Would you say that first step of the process was pretty challenging?
Yeah, it was. I mean, they eased us into it. The team building part was kind of comical. You know, you had to all do a chant every morning and be up at a certain time, and it was a little bit like a military style situation. So getting used to that was interesting, but the training itself wasn't too bad. I mean, the technology is pretty straightforward, so it was definitely easy to get into.
I see, I see. See, the chanting aspect of that already sounds really interesting to me. Is that classified, or are you able to tell us what the chant was?
Oh no, you know, it should be burned into my brain, but I don't know if I remember it.
Oh no. What?
it was it was a song and dance and everything. I have
Oh,
to look it
wow.
up. I gotta ask my friend.
Wow, that's really cool. Song and dance. Wow. They really got you
Yeah.
guys into it. That's really awesome. Okay. So where was your first assignment?
My team was assigned to Louisiana right after the severe flooding that happened in August of 2016. We went out there to a really rural part of west of Baton Rouge, and my team drove around and we knocked on doors and we asked people if they still needed to register for FEMA's financial aid program, and we were able to do it right there on the spot with iPads. And if they were already registered and they had any questions about their case, we could provide updates. We were called the boots on the ground team. So we were the first out there and we were the ones in the streets. And it was all over Louisiana. It was really interesting.
Oh, that's really cool. So, well, what was it like just traveling around with like a bunch of different strangers, you know? I mean, is it like did you already consider family? Did you already consider them family at that point? You know, what was going through your head? Just like, oh man, like anything could happen. Like me just sitting here thinking about it kind of freaks me out a little because I get anxiety. So I'm just like, oh, like I don't even know who these people are. So what was like that? What was that like for you?
It was really interesting. I mean, I'm very outgoing and I love to meet new people. I've done a lot
Nice.
of like solo traveling, and it felt like that mixed with again camp. And so I really enjoyed that built-in network of friends that you had right there, and it's such an intimate experience, so the bonds that you form are closer than anything you would get, you know, in regular college or a job. It's just very very close and personal, and I enjoyed that aspect a lot. And we were often with our other teams, so there was a lot of us to bond with and spend time with. Of course, it's not always easy. You know, my team, it was four girls in a hotel room 24/7. So of course we got sick of each other. It's it's definitely a challenge, but you find ways to take your personal space, and uh, you know, you find ways to get away for the weekend or hang out with someone new. So it's a roller coaster for sure, but definitely worth the friendships. A lot of people came out of it with really close friendships. I mean, one of my best friends now is from the program. So
Interesting, interesting. And that actually perfectly would have led to my next question, but I think you actually already addressed it, which was that how is it that you sought to um, find solutions to any problems that
mm,
you had with your team members? Like for all the problems that you had with your team members, how did you find a way to resolve some of those issues within your team? And through some of those realizations and compromises, did you feel like you guys were coming together a lot closer as a team, and that's what helped you find resolves a lot easier?
well, my team started out very close quickly. So when things did come up later on, I think we had a good foundation of friendship, even if things had changed a little bit in our dynamic. We had that initial connection to go back to,
Mm.
and so that helped us resolve things because we would kind of remember, oh, I like this person. We're just having this speed bump right now. And so that was part of it. And we had a team leader who was very approachable. So we felt like comfortable going to him with any problems and having him help work things out.
Nice.
And we were all very different, but that helped where somebody could step in and be the mediator in different situations because they had the personality that was, the objective third party.
Great, great. So some people just decided to um, kind of take that initiative,
Yeah.
put their feet forward and say, "Hey, this is how we're going to come together as a team. This is
Mhm.
what we need to do." And it's great to have individuals like that step up from time to time and take that initiative so that you can all grow and learn and come together and grow as a team ultimately. So that's really good to hear. That's really good to
Yeah,
hear. So,
yeah, I'll give you a great specific example. There was somebody from Texas, and I'm from New York. I'm a fast talker. He's a slow talker. I
wow.
would kind of cut him off and finish his sentences because I couldn't wait for him to do his slow talk. And so we had someone from Tennessee who was a medium talker who was like,
Uh-huh.
"You're being rude, but this is why she's being rude." And he really made us see why we were having that issue.
Ah,
So it was
nice.
great.
Nice, nice. That's really awesome. I mean, I'm already just imagining like how that would have played out. Like me, being a bit of a fast talker myself, and just hearing someone try to say, "Well, I think that," just having to wait for that person to just
Yep.
get their thoughts out. I'm just like, oh, like, I just gotta interrupt this person. But no, it's really great that you all were able to come together at the end of the day and have
Yeah.
individuals like that step in and be the mediator for
Mhm.
some of these discussions. So could you talk a little bit more about some of the other assignments that you had while you were there?
Yeah, so after Louisiana, we went and did the same canvassing work in Florida and North Carolina after Hurricane Matthew, I believe it was. And so it was knocking on doors, registering people for aid. And we also did individual assistance, which is basically a call center where people can follow up on their active cases. And so we would call them for any information they needed to give us still. They could call, the victims could call us, and then the last assignment was in central New York, and we were helping the regional American Red Cross with disaster preparedness and prevention initiatives. So we surveyed potential shelter sites all over New York, basically. And we also taught people, individuals, smoke alarm safety.
Great, great. Actually, we're running out of time here a little
Hmm.
bit, so I want to see if I could just squeeze out these last two questions
Sure.
because I know for
Be quick.
anybody who's really interested in becoming involved in the organization, I know they would want to hear some of the answers to these questions. So, how do you think FEMA Corps helped shape you as an individual, and what skills have you learned from the program that you felt could help that helped develop you for being a lot more helpful in the future?
Yeah, well, it definitely shaped me a lot. It confirmed that I wanted to do service work of some kind, and all the people I met, people from all over the country, both from my peers and the people we helped, and it exposed me to a lot of inequalities in our society with disaster management and other issues, and really inspired my interest now in public policy because I want to address those inequalities and change them. And I learned a lot of skills that I think are going to apply to whatever job I get next. There's the basics of data entry, where we had to really use a lot of different software programs to register people for aid and keep track of everything. And there was a lot of negotiating kind of bureaucratic situations and understanding how government works. And I think that's going to be really helpful as I'm looking to make policy changes in our government. And then I learned how to drive a 12 passenger van, which was quite the experience. So now I feel like I can drive anything, and I feel like that's a useful tool.
Wow. Wow. I'm already intimidated at the thought of it already. Like you're going around, driving around all these people, like this huge vehicle. Like, oh man, it must have been crazy trying to get around those corners. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So last question, before we go. So, what would you say to anyone who's actually interested in joining, the, joining FEMA Corps, and, what do you feel they could, expect from the program, or what would you tell them to be ready for?
I think you should definitely do it. I think even when there was challenges, it was worth the experience for a lot of reasons. I think you have to go into it uh, knowing it's very team centric. So be prepared to do a lot of team activities uh, and also to be out of your comfort zone a lot. And maybe that's scary, but it's the best part. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about other people that you would never ever learn otherwise. So I think you have to go into it kind of with that mindset that it's not always going to be easy, but there's a lot you're going to get out of it. And you can make the most out of it. You can make of it what you want. You can go into it ready to make friends, ready to, travel the country and see all these different places and take note of everything you're experiencing while you're there.
Great. Awesome. Amanda Ostuni, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. Greatly appreciate it. Really appreciated the conversation. I really loved your input. Hopefully we get the chance to do this again in the future. I want to give a special thanks to you for being on the podcast today. And if you want, and for anyone watching, if you want to find out more about Amanda, make sure you visit her LinkedIn profile at Amanda Ostuni. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And I also want to give a special thanks to our audience for tuning in today, because without you, these episodes would not be possible. So we want to thank all of you for tuning in, and we can't wait for you to join us on our next episode. But in the meantime, we hope you get ready for it. You've been listening to the Planet Ready podcast, proudly brought to you by Spin Global, a public benefit corporation that exists to disrupt disasters from neighborhoods to nations. Do you have questions or a topic you'd like us to explore? You can reach us at podcast@spinglobal.org. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Planet Ready by Spin Global. Don't forget to visit planetready.com and prepare yourself and your community on the world's premier online disaster risk reduction and emergency preparedness platform.